like, I don't want to go to work today. I don't feel like it. You know what you do anyways? You basically take your feelings, you shove them down, you sweep under the rug, you get in your car and you go to work, right? Like, you temporarily disconnect from your emotions and kind of just like, I mean, you validate them, but you're like, you're important, but like, too bad, I still got to do it. And that's another thing we do in a society. We try to like reach goals and make sacrifices in the most comfortable way possible. But what you can do, the good news is you have now, and you'll probably have tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next month. And every day is precious. And every day that you don't take action, you're wasting it, right? You're wasting it. Time might seem like your worst enemy, but if you learn how to use it, it can actually be your biggest advocate on your fitness journey. And I say that because I've worked with so many people over the years that I've seen the biggest downfalls. And I can tell you by far, the number one thing is time. And I do air quotes very specifically because we all have the same 24 hours in the day, right? Now, some people are inherently much busier than others. Like, I'm going to validate that, right? You have 4, 5, 6 kids, both spouses work. Like, your life is so much crazier than the person that has one kid, probably, right? Or maybe just one person works and then there's a stay at home. Like, it really just depends. Or if you run a business like me, your life's going to be a little bit crazier. But we do all have the same 24 hours in the day. And what I've learned to do and teach my clients over the years is to optimize the time that you have for your schedule, right? Now, it's easy for somebody to be like, okay, I'll give you an example for me, right? I work from home. I own my own business. Although I work like 12 to sometimes 18 hours in a day, I work a consistent 6 days a week. Pretty much, I feel like all I do is work. Within those hours, though, I can generally do whatever I want. I can. Like, I can spend 4 hours at the gym, I guess, if I wanted to. I guess I could go do these things. Now, do I? No. And I'll explain in a second. You know, your situation's probably way different than mine, especially if you are in the first responder community. But I'll give you an example of what I did in the military and what I did to get super jacked and shredded when I actually was a published fitness model. And it all has to do with time. It actually doesn't have to do with following a perfect program, following a perfect diet. I mean, all those things are super helpful, but I'm telling you right now, it's just optimizing your time and doing the one thing that most people lack, and that's being freaking patient. Okay. I could tell you right now that I am an extremely impatient person. Over the last couple of years, I have made so many decisions that were like on the cusp and on the fly that were great, and also a lot that were bad. And they honestly just have to do with me being impatient. And that's in like every area of my life, but specifically fitness. And I actually just got off the phone with another coach. It's like, yeah, I'm program hopping and I haven't really been consistent. And really all that comes down to is not being patient and not following the process, right? So here's a little story about when I was fitness modeling, and I say that because I was in one of the best physical conditions and shapes I've ever been in my life. Obviously I was training to be on the cover of a magazine and have I think like a 5 or 6 page spread. So like I wanted to be peak physique, right? That makes sense. Now, a big thing for me is while I was doing that, I actually still cared about performance. Like was I a little more physique focused like a month, 6 weeks leading up to the photo shoot? Yes, for sure. But I also still cared about performance. And generally what I did was the same things I was doing a year prior, right? Like literally, like the workouts were very similar. The nutrition was very similar. There were some adjustments as I got closer to the photo shoot to cut down, but like same things, right? So no changing phases every week, right? I stuck to an 8 or 12 week phase of a program. I wasn't really changing my macros. I literally just trusted the process and chipped away. I stuck to the plan regardless of the day-to-day stuff or how I felt or the stress. And by the way, while I was doing that, I was working 30 hours a week and in school full time for my bachelor's in exercise science and a minor in business. And I had my son and my wife was working. I mean, it was a lot, right? So, I had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of things where I was tired and I needed to sleep in and I had homework and all this stuff. So I would ask myself now from just an outsider perspective, like, how did you get all that done? And really it's just sticking to the plan and optimizing the time. And I'm going to teach you kind of how I did that. The one tool though that I could tell you is, well, yes, is also to be patient, but that really comes down to being less emotionally reactive. A huge theme in my podcast, and if you've ever listened to any of my stuff, hopefully this has come through. It is a superpower, I believe, to be able to temporarily emotionally disconnect so you can execute, right? Perfect example. I give this one all the time because it will relate to everybody. You're like, I don't want to go to work today. I don't feel like it. You know what you do anyways? You basically take your feelings, you shove them down, you sweep under the rug, you get in your car and you go to work, right? Like you temporarily disconnect from your emotions and kind of just like, I mean, you validate them, but you're like, you're important, but like, too bad, I still got to do it. That is a superpower. And that also has to do with being less emotionally reactive. I don't feel like this food. I don't feel like doing my cardio. This workout routine is boring. All those things will be the demise of your success in your fitness journey. 1,000%. The fact that you can't stay and do the boring work and chip away, you will fail. And you know what? The crazy thing is, and this isn't a business podcast, same thing with business. Business owners, specifically small business owners in entrepreneurship, the ones that fail, they can't master the boring work. They can't. They're like, oh, I got to send another message. I got to get on another sales call. I got to do another email and the same thing over and over. Yeah, that wins the game because everybody else is getting bored. They're wanting to switch it up. They don't want to show up day after day after day after day. That's fitness. I've been showing up for myself 5+ days per week for 17 years. I'm only 33 years old. Okay. So for the majority of my life, I've been showing up for myself over and over and over. It's to be like, wow, you have a great physique. You have a good body, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, try showing up consistently for 17 years on anything, right? With a good effort and tell me if you did that in your marriage, if you did that in your business, if you did that as a parent, like how would those areas be in your life? Probably really freaking good, right? And I understood really early on that I just I had to master the boring work, right? I'm not a big basketball person, but Kobe's like, I don't know, I don't butcher me if I'm saying this wrong, but I know he's like, yeah, I show up an hour before and I would take like hundreds of shots or whatever. Dude, just a shot, just a free throw, just the same shot over and over and over and over, just repetitions, right? Because people say like practice makes perfect, which whatever, I know it's cliche, but I'd say like good repetitions, like over and over and over again, they don't necessarily make perfect, but they make more progress than everybody else. Because the real game is just not giving up, especially with your fitness journey. There's no end game. Do you understand that? Like fitness, there's no end game. You work out, you get in shape, and then at some point you either say, hey, I like the shape I'm in. And I mean, there's three paths with fitness. Number one, which most people are on and it sucks. You go up and down your whole life, kind of in shape, kind of not in shape, kind of in shape, kind of not in shape. And you actually never even hit the physique you want. And you die one day, because we all die, and you never even got the body you want. And that is most people's journey. Some people even just totally give up. Number two is the journey where you kind of get to a place where you're like, hey, I got in really good shape and I'm just comfortable here and fitness is important to me and I'm kind of just in the maintenance phase. And that's fine. If you want to stay there the rest of your life, go ahead. That's great. And then the third one was somebody probably that I fall more in a category and some of our awesome clients that are like, hey, I understand that fitness, there needs to always be a carrot dangling in front of my mouth. I'll never actually achieve my goals. I can be happy where I'm at, but I can always want more flexibility, more muscle, more strength, more whatever, until obviously you get to a point where your body just physically can't do that. And then you maintain and then you die. I mean, that is, so not to be morbid, but that's literally it when it comes to fitness, right? So for me, I understand there's no end game. I can't win, but I can be winning. It's a difference, right? Like people say, oh, you can't win at life. I agree. In a lot of contexts, I agree. But can you be winning? I think so, because you can be losing, right? Like you can identify like that guy's losing at life. Well, if that guy's losing, and we all know what, like, I'm not saying a loser, but somebody like, wow, they're just failing on every cycle. Then you also have to be able to identify the opposite. What does winning look like? It's different for everybody. But for me, for fitness journey, I know there's no end game where I'm like, I won, I did it, I'm done, I'm retired with my fitness. I don't want that. In fact, you see a lot of people that prioritize their health, they retire and they even do more hikes and more whatever. Is it the same thing when they're 75 as when they're 50? Absolutely not, right? Their body's breaking down, it's slowing down, but they're never like, I'm done. In fact, the people that do that die very quickly, right? You stop exercising, you stop moving your body, and you just downward spiral and decline. There's lots of studies that show that, right? A lot of people that retire and they just stop working, they also have a lower life expectancy because they're not moving, they don't have purpose, they're not as hopeful, right? So I don't want to get on too much of a tangent. But when I did get in shape for fitness modeling, I understood that. And so all I did is very small adjustments because I knew the boring work worked. I just had to do it longer and make small little things. And I know this is the most unsexy thing and it does not sell, but the reason that you're unsuccessful with your fitness journey is because you lack patience, probably number one, and you lack emotionally disconnecting from your long-term goal, which is emotional, right? Like, I want to feel this way one day, or I want to be this way, or I want to look this way because I'll feel this way. There's always emotion attached to every goal, and there should be, or else why the hell are we doing it? But along the way, you basically have to tell your body or your mind, it doesn't matter. Perfect example, you go to school. Let's say you get your master's degree. I'm sure it's one of the most challenging things you've done, or your doctorate, or even your bachelor's. I know school is challenging for me. I didn't care what emotions I had. You know how many times I was like, I hate college, I want to quit it. All I do is homework, this sucks, blah, blah, blah. But I knew that the feeling of graduating and the feeling of having opportunities and all this stuff would completely outweigh it. So regardless of what happened emotionally, my goal didn't change. The effort I put in did not change, okay? It didn't change. I literally was just like, hey, I have this goal and I know there's going to be ups and downs and days where I hate it and days where I crush it. I don't care because I know that I'm just keeping my eyes on the prize no matter what. And the crazy thing is, you do this in so many areas. Why do you struggle with fitness? You do it. You do it with your job. You do it with all these other things. And it is a time management. I'm going to give you some examples, okay? And I say it's a time thing because time can be literally your worst enemy if you look at it as half glass empty. And if you look at it as half glass full, time will be your best friend. Let me give you some examples, right? So yeah, the first example, right? This would be your best friend. I'll have some notes here. If you keep doing the right thing, only one variable actually matters. Time. You just have to do it long enough, right? You just have to do the right thing long enough, right? The worst enemy to that, the opposite side of that, is we live in a culture that tells us we need results now, right? So even though you know, like logically, you're like, Stefan, yeah, dude, you're right. Okay, cool. But I live in the same world you do. And it's really challenging because guess what? We're told to do things right now, Instagram right now, internet load right now, order my food, get here right now. It's challenging. Okay. Next example. You can this is the times being your best friend. You can effectively speed up time by choosing to be more disciplined and suffer a little more, specifically with fat loss. I'll give you an example. Although, like, let's say you wanted to lose 10 pounds, you could be at a 200 calorie deficit, okay? And that would take you X amount of time to lose it, right? Or let's just do an easy one, okay? If you're at a 500 calorie deficit, 5 times 7 is 3,500. So in 1 week, you would effectively, theoretically lose 1 pound of fat per week. How many weeks would that take you? 10 weeks. Can you change time? No, but I could. What if I was at a 1,000 calorie deficit? Very aggressive. I'm not saying to do that. What I would lose that same weight in how many weeks? 5. I actually cut time in half by choosing to be more disciplined, by choosing to suffer a little bit more. I can actually use time, the same time that it took somebody else. And I've talked about this for fat loss specifically. For most people in the beginning, I say be more aggressive because I'm going to be more emotionally bought in. The person that's going to take 10 weeks to lose weight, and I'm not saying do this deficit, just example. The person that's going to take 10 weeks is going to go, I'm getting discouraged. I'm not losing at the rate I want. The guy that's 5 weeks, even though he's suffering, he's going to be like, dude, I'm crushing it. I'm losing weight. This is great. He's going to be more emotionally bought in. Yes, he's suffering more. Same thing for money. Money and calories are the perfect example. If you're saving money and you're like, I'm going to save $100 a month. Okay, $1,200 a year. Great job, bro. But if you said, I'm going to save $800 a month, I mean, dude, you're going to save a lot over the year and you're going to be in a better place. Did you basically do nothing all year? Sure. But it was 1 year of suffering and you got to your financial goal instead of trying to spread it out over to 3, 5, 7 years so you're more comfortable. And that's another thing we do in a society. We try to like reach goals and make sacrifices in the most comfortable way possible. And I can tell you right now that like I am 100% guilty of that. I'm like, ooh, I really want that goal. What's the easiest way I could get there? I know this journey is going to be uncomfortable, but what is like the most comfortable way to do it, right? Like we all do it. I'm not shitting on anybody for that, but you have to think like some things are designed to just be hard. Stop looking for the easy route. Stop looking for the quick fix. Like that's not going to hurt you, right? So the worst enemy for that is if you want to gain muscle, you must be patient, right? Like, so the best friend is, hey, you can actually use time to speed up the being at a deeper deficit. If you want to bulk, if you want to put on muscle, honestly, you just have to be patient because you can't really eat more. If you just eat more food and lift more, you'll get injured or you get fat. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me say that again. If you're cutting weight, you could be more aggressive to, effectively speed up time, right? Because you're going to get to your goal quicker. If you're trying to put on muscle and you're trying to bulk, honestly, you can't really speed up time. You could be like, let's say you're like, I'm training 5 to 6 days a week and I'm doing this much volume and I'm eating in a 800, 700 calorie surplus. You can't go eat 2,000 calories more and do two a days all the time. You'll get hurt and you'll get fat. So like bulking, again, time can kind of screw you over, right? Here's another best friend example. If you can actually buy back your time, so this is more of like for coaching. You can actually buy back your time by hiring somebody to help you get past the learning curves. So for most people, this is maybe like 2 to 3 years if they can be consistent, right? People do this in business all the time. I did this. When I first started this company, I hired somebody that basically made me buy back 5 years of my life in 3 months. Okay? Maybe 4 months. I'm not even kidding. Like what I learned in 4 months would have taken me 5 years on my own. People do this in business all the time. Let me learn from somebody that's an expert. How do I do Amazon drop shipping? How do I do this? How do I do this? Imagine if let's say you're like a nurse, a cop, firefighter, whatever you are. Imagine you sat down with a mentor that was where you want to be in 10 years in your career and you were under their wing and maybe you were lucky and they told you every in and out, every do and don't. Do this, don't do that. When you get hit with this problem, this is what you do. And they told you every in and out. And if you had questions along the way, you could just ask them, how many years would that shave off your life for trial and error? How much time and suffering? I don't know, but like a lot. Would that be worth it? Most people are like, dude, if I had that opportunity, if I could go back and like pay somebody to do that or like have somebody there, that would be invaluable. Well, you can do that with fitness. You literally hire a coach. That's what our clients do, right? They say, I could try by myself, but 2 things. Number 1, I'm not really going to get where I want to be, even if I did it on my own, ultimately. So I'm going to get further with a coach. And number 2, I don't have the time to waste because the one thing that we all have, it's an equal resource is time. Because this is a very unfair world, 1,000,000,000%. But the one thing that does kind of create a little bit of an even playing field is we all share the same time. We don't all have the same time on Earth. That's not what I'm saying. But we all share the same time. Like if you're listening to this, I'm alive, you're alive. Hopefully I'm still alive. So it's one of those things where that even playing field is great because what it does is time doesn't care, dude. Time honestly doesn't care about you. It's going to keep going like it has for thousands or millions of years. So again, it's neutral, but you got to decide which one you do it, right? Or so you can get help. That's your best friend, or it could be your worst enemy. And this is probably where you're at. You can pretend you know it all and you can continue to struggle while blaming everybody else. I'm busy, my wife and my kids, and you don't get it. And it's really hard with my job and I don't have time and I don't have money and victim mentality and poor me, right? Because you're never going to get back that time. And the biggest thing for me is I think of opportunity cost, right? If you don't know what that is, let me explain it. If I sat there and I said, I want to mow my lawn and it's going to take me 2 hours, which would be ridiculous, but let's say that. And let's say I made, I'm just throwing out a random number. It's not how much I make. Let's say I made $100 an hour. Okay. Then for me to mow my lawn, effectively, if I spent 2 hours out of my day, that's a $200 job. So if I can get somebody to do it for $50, I'm saving myself $150, right? That's called opportunity cost. And I highly suggest if you're not implementing that in your life, you do it. So how long is it going to sit you to write an exercise program, do research on the internet, which again, even if it is accurate, which it probably is not going to be, come up with a program, research all the answers. You'd probably be like, dude, hours and hours and hours a week. Sweet. If you make $50 an hour is what you're doing paying for it. Just the opportunity cost, not even considering like the ass pain, right? So those are some things to think about. I have created time to be my biggest friend because I've understood how to work it nutritionally, which I'm not going to dive in too deep on this episode. I've learned to take time and understand too that if I just chip away and I don't quit, I'm going to be so much further along. And you might be like 30, 40, 50 years old and you're like, oh, I wish I would have started when I was younger, but you didn't. But you're not in the shape you want. Guess what? The worst thing about time is we can't go back. That is the worst thing about time. And I will say that regret is the worst feeling ever. Like regret, I would say, is one of the worst human emotions and feelings you can experience. I wish I would have, if I could turn back time. God, if I could only, but you can't. You can't. You know that? I can't. You can't. But what you can do, the good news is you have now, and you'll probably have tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next month. And every day is precious. And every day that you don't take action, you're wasting it, right? You're wasting it. And you will have regret. Oh, believe me, you will have regret. You're setting yourself up for the worst emotion, one of the worst emotions possible, besides maybe like a really bad guilt and regret. They usually go hand in hand. But like the fact that you didn't do anything about it. So I'm going to give you some action steps because I don't want you being there. And one PS, sorry, got off track. One side note. When I was doing fitness modeling, this was years ago. This was like in 2019, so it was a while ago. I actually have kept, I just want to let you guys know, it's not like I got in super good shape and then I got out of shape. I basically kept that physique. In fact, I would even argue in some instances, it's gotten better because I understood that if whatever took me to get there, I just had to like basically continue to do the same thing. And just after years and years and just more reps in the gym, that like my body would just very slowly get better and better and better. It's just almost like, are most people that are 55 more wealthy than people that are 25? Sure, it's just time. Like, yeah, it's knowledge too, for sure, but time's compounding and it can be your best friend. So here's some action steps, right? Number one, I want you to create a plan. Like, and I'm not saying a plan like I want to lose 30 pounds. That's a goal. I'm saying a plan, and you need to actually sit down and you need to write down your goal and you need to work backwards. I want to lose 30 pounds. What do I need to do? Literally work backwards, okay? Look at your goal, write down the action steps that you need to hit. I like doing SMART goals, specific, actionable. What is this? Specific, measurable, actionable, relatable, timely, right? Hopefully you learned that sometime in school. That way you're like, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds in 4 months. Cool. By doing this each week, and then break it down even more by doing this each day, by hitting these macros, by doing these workouts. If you don't know how to create a plan, get freaking help, okay? You saying you don't have time is literally the worst excuse. And here's the thing. Most of you that say you don't have time or like you're too busy or whatever, your situation's not going to change. In fact, I almost guarantee you're going to get busier. I talk to so many people that have like 1 or 2 kids and they're like, I'm really busy. And then 2 years later, they have another kid. I was like, hey, look, I'm not here to judge you saying you shouldn't have a kid, but like that was, I'm guessing, your choice to get more busy. You're putting yourself more in a hole before you even solve the problem. Again, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't have had the kid, but like you should not use your kids or your family or even your job as an excuse. There's so many things to do to get in shape. And again, you don't have to be a fitness model, jack shredded, spend 6 days a week in the gym. But should you be 40 pounds, 30 pounds overweight, have this dad bod, have this beer gut, not being comfortable taking your shirt off at the pool? Absolutely not. And you can integrate so many things. Like this morning, I went on a walk with my son, my little 9-month-old son, in a shore with my wife, with the dogs, 2 miles in the heat, right? I could have been like, oh, I don't want to do that. We did it as a family. I played football at the park with my son, being a dad, hanging out on my day off, activity, right? So it's like with my family, I'm not even going and doing it on my own. I'm not going to get on a tangent, right? Number 2, regardless of what route you choose, okay, you need to be aggressively patient. Okay, so I'm going to break that down. Number 1, you need to create a plan and you need to work backwards. Number 2 action step is you need to have aggressive patience. What is that, right? It sounds very counterintuitive. There's a dichotomy, right? Aggressive patience is this. I'm going to work as hard as possible and I'm going to do everything in my freaking power to make sure I'm going to hit that goal. But because I know that I'm just waiting on time, I'm going to wait. Does that mean you're just like, again, people skew this towards their goals because they want to be comfortable. Remember when I said people want to try the least at the thing they know should be uncomfortable? Like, I'm going to go on a run, but like, want to make it the easiest possible. Runs are not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be challenging. So you challenge your body and your cardio gets better, and etc. But let me do a run, walk, and some jog. Like they're seeking easy. Okay. So aggressive patience is not that. It's not like, well, just waiting on the time, waiting on the Lord's time. Wait, no. You should wait. You should be patient. But if you're not doing everything in your power while you're waiting, okay, or at least putting in a valiant effort that you can go to sleep at night and be proud of, and you can legitimately look at yourself in the mirror. I mean, think about this. Think about if you're alone. Like, go to the bathroom right now. Lock the door, shut the door, whatever. Take 5 minutes and look at yourself in the mirror. Take your shirt off, and just look at yourself. And just like, I know this sounds weird, but like, just evaluate. Are you happy? Do you like yourself? Are you doing the things that you know you should be or could be doing to make your life better? Because I'm guessing you're not fully satisfied with your life. And that's okay. I'm not. But again, it doesn't mean I'm not happy where I'm at. I know there's so much more room to grow. And so if I look in the mirror, generally I'd be like, dude, I'm really proud of this effort. I am actually 1,000%. There's nobody in here, nobody to judge me. I'm happy. Now, are there other areas where I'm like, you could be doing better, Stefan? 100%, 100%. But I'm honest with myself and I don't just go, yeah, you could do better. Oh, too bad. No, I actually go do things. I do exactly what I said. Action step number 1, I create a plan and I work backwards and I let my family know, hey, babe, I'm really working on this. Tell my son, hey, working on not being as angry, not, being less tempered. I'm really sorry for that. Like, I'm taking ownership. I'm creating a plan and I'm moving backwards, right? Instead of just being like, I'm just working on this thing. Cool. Where's your plan? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing consistently? Are you being aggressively patient? Probably not. But, the aggressive patience just means, you're not like leaving anything on the table. Okay. So again, you have to decide like how you're going to live your life. And are you going to let time be your best friend or your worst enemy? I know a lot of people now that I'm like in the entrepreneurial business owner space for the last couple of years. I know a lot of people that make time their best friend when it comes to money. And I am freaking proud of you guys. Crushing it. Awesome. That's an area that I'm trying to learn more on. But a lot of these people don't take the same principles into fitness. And I'm telling you right now, money and exercise and nutrition have literally the closest analogies you can ever think of. A lot of the principles that you're going to do with your finances literally apply the same thing, right? If I went to this Dave Ramsey concert or whatever, or event, I don't know, not concert, event, and let's say, or whoever your financial guru is, and I spent 10 grand, but that 10 grand caused me to make 100,000 more dollars, everybody'd be like, well, that's a great investment, right? Like that, wow, you spent 10 grand, but you got all this stuff from it, just like a business coach. People do this all the time, but they're not looking at like, oh, if I invest in a coach, or if I figure out these problems, or if I can get accountability to stick on this plan, I can avoid all the pain. I can save time. I can be, I can show up to work and perform better. And so now I'm more confident. I'm making more money, because that's what fitness is, right? You understand that? There's no end game, but like I said, you can be winning, right? You can't win, but in my opinion, but you can be winning. And I want to win, guys, or I want to be winning. I want to wake up and feel every day that I'm putting in my best effort. And I've told myself that I'm allowed to complain about time. This is like the rule I tell myself. I'm allowed to complain. Just yesterday, I was telling my wife, I'm so busy. I got to record these podcasts. I got to do this. I got to do this. Basically, I felt like there's not enough time in the day. I think I actually said that. But here's the thing. I kind of did my like complaining fest. I vented, and then I kind of husa, centered myself. And then I'm like, okay, I feel like I don't have as much time. I went straight to my calendar, because I think every adult should live by a calendar. I don't care your job or anything. And I'm like, how am I going to put this in? When am I going to do this? Let me plan out my week. And you know how much better I felt? And that's what, to me, like if you suffer with anxiety is what? Anticipation of the future, anticipation of what's going to happen. And I know, because I have some family members that have extreme anxiety. But what if you could like write everything down and plan it and organize it? Would you not feel, you'd feel like less anxious, right? So again, that's what I did. I was like, I feel anxious. I feel stressed because of time. I don't have enough time to, go to the gym, do these things. I made a calendar. I put things exactly where they knew. I'm like, cool, this is going to get taken care of this week. I made my checklist for the week, and I immediately felt better because I had a plan and I started working backwards. And you know what? I know that stuff's going to be taken care of this week. So now I have aggressive patience. I'm like, hey, I'm going to execute. I'm going to show up every day. But like, I can't do Friday's event now. I have to wait till Friday. I have to wait till Friday happens and time catches up. But then when Friday comes, best believe I'm going to execute. Aggressive patience, right? So again, I harp on this and I'm repeating myself because I think that if we could just as a whole, as a community, specifically like the first responder community, because you guys work shift work and I know you work long shifts and a lot of hours. And I know the first thing to come to your mind for you not meal prepping, for you not eating healthy, for you not going to the gym. I mean, it could be your energy and your motivation. I get that. But like, what's the first layer? The first layer is time. If I'm like, hey, you have the whole week off, would you go to the gym? Yes, probably. You have the whole week off. Would you meal prep? Sure. So it's not really a motivation thing. It's a disorganization thing. I actually made an episode called You're Not Lazy, You're Disorganized. I don't know what number it is. I could drop it in the show notes. But like, I don't think a lot of people are lazy. I think they're disorganized and they're not planned and they feel like they don't have enough time. And so if push comes to shove, they're like, yeah, I'm watching the movie instead of this, right? Because they need the relax time. Or I'm going to go grocery shopping instead of workout. Or I'm going to do this instead of this. And it's a trade-off. But what if you could figure out a way to actually make time work for you and be your best friend? And I could tell you firsthand, this is literally what we do with all of our clients in Pursuit, right? So if by listening to this, you're like, hey, look, Stefan, I know what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying, but I don't really know how to sit there and plan it and work backwards and actually buy into something where I can be aggressively patient and I just need help. I want you to chat with me. Go to my Instagram. It's Stefan Kunz, STEFANKUNZ_fit. Okay. Or you can go to our website. They'll all be linked down in the show notes on Spotify or on YouTube. And I want you to chat with me, fill out a form or just DM me. Because here's the thing, you probably need a plan and you probably need a structure and you probably need accountability. And all of our clients right now are being aggressively patient because we had a plan. We literally worked backwards. We're like, hey, this is curated towards you, your schedule, your physical capabilities, your goals. So we know it's 100% tailored towards them. And then what we did is we said, hey, I just need you to execute. And in 6 months, whatever, you'll be here. That's hard. That's a hard thing to do. I'm like, have aggressive patience. Along the way, I need you to work your ass off. I need you to put in the work. I need you to communicate with us. I need you to do these things. And I promise in 6 months, you'll be here. Again, they have to be patient, but they're not just sitting around moping and being like, oh, I just hope one day. I mean, hope doesn't mean anything if you don't have a plan, right? So I appreciate it. I love you guys. If you feel like, especially specifically if you're an everyday hero and you want some help, we've had tons and tons of transformations in the last, 3 years, maybe over 600 transformations. So we've been crushing it with our one-on-one coaching. My last request is that you share this episode. Literally the only way that we ever get anywhere. And this podcast is not that big. It's growing. Actually, next episode is going to be episode freaking 100. I can't believe it. I feel like I've sat here 100 times. I don't know. It's weird to think that. But it doesn't grow except if you guys give word of mouth. So share the episode, like it, subscribe, comment, anything you can do. And honestly, giving it a rating. Like if you could rate it, it actually really helps. There's a ton of fitness podcasts out there. As you could tell, I'm really, really passionate about giving you guys this information. I put a lot of time, money, effort into this. I'm actually recording this on a Sunday on my day off because, I care and I actually love doing this. So I appreciate it, guys. I love you and we'll talk to you next time.